collaboration with the Cyprus Mail, this is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
Coming up this week, for the first time in 20 years, Cypriots can travel to the European mainland by sea.
I do believe that the fare for the ferry is very competitive, but it's a different mode of transport.
Piano Fest 2 will showcase talented Cypriot pianists in a series of concerts starting next week.
And we are very happy and very proud that this edition of Piano Fest 2 will feature 4 up-and-coming Cypriot pianists.
And you're invited to join a children's bicommunal party in the park tomorrow to raise funds for children with cancer.
The Kamal Saracoglu Foundation looks after children with cancer and leukemia in the north, and it works very closely with the Karaskakio Foundation in the south.
It's been 20 years since anyone in Cyprus could leave the country other than by air. Now, back in the day, we did have regular ferry services both to Greece and to Israel, but that all stopped in 2000. It seems, though, that we've turned things around because despite the impact that all the recent things like the pandemic and now the war in Ukraine is having on our shipping sector, we are going to have ferries again running to Greece starting in June. And joining us to tell us all about it is our Deputy Minister of Shipping, Vasilios Dimitriadis. Vasilios, this is something that I know the government's been trying to do for a long, long time. So tell us a little bit, if you will, about the background, because the first tenders, I think, were cancelled. But now, 19th of June, we can all get on a ferry and we're linked finally to Europe.
Well, indeed, I agree with your introduction. It's been more than a decade, actually, that the Cyprus government has been trying to put the framework conditions for this link to be reestablished. And I think it was decisive that back in June 2020, we managed to convince the European Commission, the Director General for Competition, to get the green light to identify this service as a service of economic interest, to be subsidized by our national budget, not EU budget, national budget, for a period of 3 plus 3 years subject to conditions. We ran a tender, as you very rightly said at the beginning, and we failed to attract operators, but we thought that it's worth having a second try because the government's intention was really to provide this alternative connectivity to our citizens after 21 years. So we had a series of consultations with all the operators to better understand their concerns, their needs, the reason of not showing interest in the first place. And then we have reformulated and renegotiated the term of the approval that we were already having by the European Commission, and we managed to get more flexible terms. So we formulated the conditions accordingly, and we managed to attract 3 operators. They submitted their proposals, and finally, following all the legal provisions, we managed to approve and grant this service to one of these bidders, which is Scandal Holdings. And as you very rightly said, as of 19th of June this year, this service will be re-established, initially for 3 years, and then we'll have to wait to see how our citizens will respond, and we will try to make it viable in order for Cypriot citizens, but also Europeans, to be able to enjoy this service for a long time.
There's the rub, isn't it? Because unless people make use of this, then after 3 years or at the very most 6, it'll stop again. So I'm wondering if you can look back to when, I think it was Salamis, was it, that used to run the ferry service in the 70s and 80s. How many people did use the service? Because for it to fold, it presumably meant that there was a lack of interest when airfares got cheaper, I suppose.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons back in early 2000. The airfares, they were very cheap, so there was no interest to use the ferry link. There was the political instability in the region, mainly, looking on the Middle East, and it was no interest at the time. That's why it stopped. And the reason for the government's intervention is exactly to subsidize for the X years of time according to the rules of the European Union, just to re-energize and see if our citizens, they will support such a service, they will use the service, and to make it viable. But to make it viable, I do believe, and I already mentioned many times, that it's important for the operator to consider extending that link, for example, to countries like Israel, because I do believe that the Cyprus-Israel link is a very short trip of around 8 to 10 hours, which could be profitable to offset a possible loss of the Cyprus-Greece. I'm talking now in the case of no government subsidy in place. So I do believe that for the operator, as of next year, in the second year of running this business, they could try for at least once a month or twice a month to extend it to Israel, just to check the market behavior, because this is the non-European leg that we are not allowed to subsidize. But it's worth at least trying this, because I do believe that from both sides, the Israelis and Cypriots, and even the Greeks, because we should not forget that Greece is not connected by sea with Israel currently. It's only by air. So this could mobilize a lot of Greek citizens.
And of course, can I just suggest that because airfares have gone up exponentially, particularly now with the rise in the cost of fuel and so on, that presumably may have a knock-on effect that potential travellers will see what the airfares are and say it's much cheaper by boat and we can take our car or our motorbike.
Well, yes, this is another element in the equation that possibly passengers will take into account. We should not forget that this service will run on a seasonal basis, exactly during the summer period where the airfares are inevitably higher compared to other seasons of the year. And I do believe that the fare for the ferry is very competitive, but it's a different mode of transport. I mean, the ferry is open for students that they want to carry a lot of personal luggages, especially if they are first years students going to Greece or they are on their graduation year ready to return back home, that they want to carry 7-8 luggages with their personal belongings. It's open to motorbikers. It's open to those that they want to travel with their personal cars, and even people that they do like to travel by sea, and they will consider this 30 hours journey as part of their holiday. So yes, we need to use this period of 3 years to create the market for this. This is exactly how the government intervenes, to boost and to create the market and to check if this is viable. I said it so many times that for us it's not just to run the tender and attract operators and make it possible for 3 plus 3 years, but to provide the conditions to become viable. And that's why we are ready to check the market behavior to better understand. And for us as a shipping deputy minister, is something else. It's a way to bring our citizens closer to the sea, closer to shipping, because being an island, I think we lack this shipping culture or this maritime sea culture or mentality. So this is a way to bring people closer to the sea, and it's linked to many other campaigns we're having. We just had last week the Salasa 2022 to bring closer the civil society and the young people to sea and to shipping, to the blue economy. And I think even the maritime link will give the opportunity to many of our citizens to travel by sea, because you will be surprised if you make a questionnaire or a study. You will be surprised that more than 50% of the Cypriots, although we are an island, never travel by sea.
Right, now then, as you said, there are limited number of trips this year. I think it's going to stop in mid-September, and there are 4 trips, is that right, scheduled for June, 8 in July and 7 in August and 3 in September. But you are hoping that those will be extended for a much longer period, which would be important despite the fact that the sea may be a bit rougher in the winter, but it would be part and parcel of our attempt to extend our tourist season.
No, let me clarify things. The tender provisions foresee only 22 return sailings per year, from April to May till September, October on a weekly basis. What you see this year as a program is exceptional because the tender was awarded only a month ago, and it was practically impossible for the successful bidder to run it from May. Next year, we will most probably see 22 sailings, return sailings, starting from May at the latest and ending in October at the latest.
So it will extend it a little bit.
Yes, it will be extended till October. The service will run seasonal, and this is one of the issues that we renegotiate with the European Union to allow us to run it on a seasonal basis, because from all our information, from the outcome of our consultations, it was practically impossible to attract an operator to run this service for a full year.
Fair enough, and I don't doubt that airfares during the winter months are cheaper anyway. Can I just, before you go, Vasilios, ask you to bring us up to date with the current state of Cypriot shipping? It's a very important part of our economy, and I'm just wondering how we're doing, bearing in mind that we've still got some of those problems in the supply chain from the pandemic, and of course now we've got the war very close to us in Ukraine.
Well, when it comes to Cyprus shipping, I do believe that the sector showed resilience during the pandemic. We managed to maintain our fleet and even increase it when it comes to Cyprus flagships, and to attract more and more companies under the tonnage tax system, and even bring new shipping companies in Cyprus. Back in October 2021, we have presented a strategic vision of Cyprus shipping under the name Sea Change 2030, with 35 sustainable actions, having 3 pillars: sustainability, extrovert, and adaptability. And I do believe that by implementing all these 35 actions, a number of them are already in place, Cyprus shipping will become more resilient to crisis, and will maintain its competitiveness, and will increase its very important and constructive role in formulating EU and global positions when it comes to the future of shipping, and in meeting the challenges such as the green or digital transformation of the sector. So I think despite the problems we have faced during the pandemic, problems that showed also how we could respond to this crisis. I mean, with COVID, we have a big humanitarian crisis for the sector, with problems on crew changes and repatriation of seafarers. Cyprus responded by facilitating the crew changes from the very first day. More than 60,000 seafarers managed to return home from Cyprus during that period. We have introduced a national vaccination plan, vaccinating around 40,000 seafarers in respective of nationality on Cyprus flagships or ships operated from Cyprus. And of course, we have submitted a global vaccination plan that was adopted as an ILO resolution. I think this shows that Cyprus shipping is delivering, is responding to this crisis, is listening to the concerns of the industry, and it adds to our effectiveness and efficiency. Plus, we are currently running a project to fully digitalize our services and to create the framework conditions for one-stop shop, and to turn it to a paperless environment. And this will be completed by the end of 2023. But gradually, you will see more and more of our services becoming digital.
That's the Deputy Minister of Shipping, Vasilios Dimitriadis. Thank you very much for joining me.
This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
Next Tuesday sees the beginning of Piano Fest, and it's going to feature 4 concerts from the Lydra music soloists. From there, joining us is Nicolas Constantino. Nicolas, thanks very much indeed for coming on the programme again. It's a long time since we've spoken, But tell me a little bit first about the whole idea behind Piano Fest.
Hi, Rose. Thank you for having me. Well, yes, Piano Fest actually is the second time we're organizing this. I must admit that the first time we had that piano festival was back in 2007. Unfortunately, we were not able to continue it since then. And hopefully it will pick up now and we will have it a little bit more often than a decade apart in some years. Many things happened in 2007. We had the Icelandic volcano, we had the crisis, we had this, we had that, coronaviruses. So finally we're back on track. And we're very happy and very proud that this edition of Piano Fest 2 will feature four up-and-coming Cypriot pianists. I mean, 3 up-and-coming Cypriot pianists and myself. So that is a whole Cypriot cast that will be featured in our festival. We're very proud for that. And also because the 3 guest artists that are aside of myself, they're appearing in a solo piano recital for the first time in Cyprus.
Well, that's jolly exciting. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. What does it feel like when you're coming up for your first solo recital? And you're doing it, I think, in the Strovolos Municipal Theatre, which is a big theatre and must be quite daunting.
Well, yes, we're a little bit worried because it is a bit tall, but we're hoping that people will respond. Finally, all measures have been lifted. And we are to 100% capacity, and we're looking forward to welcome the Cypriot audiences to come and enjoy high-quality classical music from our own blood, basically. And the whole program will be very interesting. It features great masterworks, difficult pieces, from old to modern. It will include also premieres. So we're very, very excited to be able to offer this in Cyprus because solo piano recitals are very rare and because they are very demanding for somebody to prepare for such a thing. So they are not very often heard here in Cyprus. So we are very happy that we are able to do this for Cyprus and for the audiences here. And we hope that people will embrace it and come and listen to the lovely music that all of us will be performing.
Well, you've got quite a variety, haven't you? Bach, Liszt, Chopin, Rachmaninoff.
Yes.
When these pianists come to you or you approach them, do you give them any guidance or do they have a free hand to decide what they would like to play?
Usually they have a free hand. Sometimes I may make some recommendations depending on how it unfolds. We try to include works by Cypriot composers as well. We have actually 2 Cypriot composers that will be featured. One is in the first concert is by Nicolas Economou. He composed a set of 8 nocturnes in the 70s. And our first pianist, who is Christos Dialouros, he will perform, if I'm not mistaken, 5 of them.
Tell me a bit more about the pianists themselves.
Yes, so Christos is a graduate of the Royal Academy of Music in London, and he's recently been accepted to do his PhD at Oxford University, so we are very happy that he agreed to perform for us. He's the youngest of the 4 of us. His program will feature Bach Partita number 6 in E minor, and then he will continue with the Economou Nocturnes, and then he will play for us the 2 Legions by Franz Liszt, which have a religious content. And after the intermission, he will finish with the massive piano sonata by Henri Dutilleux, a French composer around 1930s and 40s. It's a magnificent work, and it's very seldomly played because it is very difficult. And it's the first time that I think the audiences in Cyprus will get to hear this piece.
I was going to say that's one that I've not heard of coming up on our concert programmes before, so that's a little bit of something rather special. It continues on the 5th of June, I think, with Andreas Ioannidis. Now, where did he study?
Yes, that's right. Andreas Ioannidis comes from Limassol, from, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a British or an Irish mother. I can't put my hand on the fire here. And he's currently a lecturer in the University of Cork in Ireland. He has studied in the United States of America with Manahem and Pressler at Indiana University. And he has already been playing around the globe He's very committed pianist and an excellent musician. He will play for us, I believe, for the first time in Cyprus, the whole set of the 24 piano etudes by Frédéric Chopin. So that is a daring program, wonderful music, of course, and we are very happy that Andreas will present this in Cyprus. It's a very nice opportunity for all people who study the piano to come and listen to those wonderful masterpieces played live and enjoy the music.
And then George Manouris on the 7th of June?
Yes, George Manouris will give the third recital. His program also quite exciting. He will play 5 etudes by Franz Liszt. It's going to be 3 from the very big set of the Transcendental Etude that Liszt composed and revised later in 1851, combined with 2 etudes from other sets, shorter sets. One is called Waldertraumchen, which means Murmurs of the Forest, and the second one will be On Sospiro, which means a sigh. He will continue the program with Chopin's Second Sonata for Piano in B-flat minor. It's the one that features the famous March Funèbre. And then he will close his program with the Second Sonata for Piano by Rachmaninoff, which is somehow related to the Chopin Sonata because Rachmaninoff was very influenced by Chopin in some ways, and they share also the same key. So it's also a very wonderful program, wonderful music. George Manouris has recently, he's on his way to finish his PhD at the Boston Conservatory of Music. Sorry if I'm mistaken, he finished his master's there, and he's doing his PhD at another university in Boston. And he recently moved to London as well. And he's also a very promising and very talented musician, and not only a musician, he's also a poet and an academic. He's concentrating on Wagner and his Nibelungen cycle, The Ring of the Nibelungen. He's really an amazing person, excellent pianist as well, and we're very happy to have him.
And then you wrap it all up on the 14th of June.
And I wrap it all up, 14th of June, and I will play the premiere of the 12 Preludes Series 1 by the Cypriot composer Konstantinos Plianou, who currently lives in London. The set has been composed throughout the decade, actually. He started composing them in 2008, and the last one was completed and revised in 2018. This is the first time that the whole cycle will be performed, although individual preludes have been played either by me and by other pianists.
What would you say his style of music is? Because people are not perhaps familiar with his music.
Yes, it may be off-putting here in some contemporary music, but it is not really that kind of contemporary music. It's an interesting cycle, and it's based on works of art. Taking as an example from Claude Debussy from France, who wrote his own 12 preludes, giving a suggestion as to what the content of the music is by putting a title at the end of the piece. Usually this title could have been a literary idea or an image or something that evokes some kind of feeling. Whereas Konstantinos Plianou continues this legacy by taking up works of art, actual works of art. So these works of art may be either sculptures or paintings by famous artists from different countries. So he writes music that somehow derives or gets inspiration from those paintings without being programmatic at the same time. And they're all wonderful works, and they're all very different in the musical language also.
So that's something really quite special, I guess, then, for audiences here in Cyprus. Okay, so tickets, I know, are probably available through lidramusic.org.
Actually, we have the tickets through sold-out tickets. We cannot sell tickets on our own homepage, but our lovely guests are encouraged to go visit the sold-out tickets.com to get their tickets from there. We have a very good offer for a season pass. A pass that allows some person to come to all 4 concerts. So the price for 3 concerts, basically, and they get the 4th concert for free. So it's a €45 entrance for the season pass, and individual concerts cost €15 and €20 the concession.
And the concessions, pensioners, students, soldiers?
Yeah, that's 10 euros.
So there we go. It's going to be a real festival of piano music starting on the 31st of May and continuing right the way through to the 14th of June, thanks to the Lidra Music soloists, and our thanks to Nicolas Constantinou for telling us all about it.
Thank you, Rosie.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
On Saturday, you're invited to join a bicommunal party in the park just north of Nicosia. The Cyprus Peace and Dialogue Centre and the Kemal Saracoglu Foundation are inviting you to a children's party in Kumsal Park. To tell us all about it and what's on offer, we welcome Katie Clearidis. Katie, thanks for coming onto the programme. And this is something I think that you're hoping will break down the barriers and let people enjoy themselves together.
Definitely. That's one of the focuses of the event. It's a bicommunal event, but it's also to try and raise money for a very worthy cause. The Kemal Saracoglu Foundation looks after children with cancer and leukemia in the north, and it works very closely with the Cypriot Foundation in the south. That is the main body that collects donor samples to help children that need bone marrow transplants, and there are many Turkish Cypriots who are donors. So the whole effort is, in a way, bicommunal to help children with this terrible disease. And we're doing this event in the park in the form of a children's party because we thought, we want to encourage children to come, and also because we're selling a couple of children's books that are published in Greek and Turkish. They're bilingual, and very reasonably priced, and they're sold in aid of the Kemal Saracoglu Foundation. So we're hoping to raise some funds and do some awareness raising also about the need to help these organizations, especially in this difficult time of crisis where money is short in all areas.
But you've also got face painting and clowns and music, so it's going to be a bit of a jolly event. And I'm assuming, Kate,
party, and we hope that people just walking through the park will come and enjoy the clowns and face painting and the music. There's a cafeteria nearby if people want to purchase refreshments. So yes, it's just a bit of fun in the park. And we hope we'll have a good turnout.
Katie, can I ask you, how many people are you expecting to cross the green line? Because one of the important things, I guess, with something like this is that a lot of the children will not have met, perhaps, children from the other community.
Yes, that's true. Well, we're advertising it on both sides of the line, and if we have a good response and people need transportation from the checkpoint, we can help to provide that. Although the Kumsal Park is actually not very far from the Lidra Palace checkpoint, it's within walking distance. So yes, we're hoping that we will get some participation from the south as well.
And where can people find out more? I guess you've got it up on Facebook, I think.
Yes, it's on Facebook, in the Cyprus Peace and Dialogue Centre face page, and also on the Kemal Saracoglu Vakfi face page. So there's more information there and a map of how to get to Kumsal Park.
So that's happening between 11 in the morning and 2 p.m. on Saturday, 28th of May, a party in the park, and you're all invited. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.